What? I
I
just went
might
live.
start a.
We might start what? We're live now.
I feel like I might give a project to my niece that comes over here and kind of does stuff, and it's gonna be to start a podcast. And I
Yeah.
asked her about it, and I said, "Who do you want to talk to?" And she said, "Iggy."
Oh no!
She's a little intrigued about furry.
Oh no! Well, this
She
is a great
sometimes
start to episode 2.
sometimes will like on the television, someone will be in like a mascot costume,
Oh
and she'll be
no!
like a furry, like Iggy. So there's a sense of mystery about you and
Oh
your
my!
I mean she's on the internet. She's
Oh
14.
boy!
She knows things. She thinks it's cool that I have a friend that's a furry.
Oh,
So
that's
I
cool.
don't know if that means she's curious, but
Furry
the
curious.
first episode of her podcast, which is going to be about how to start a podcast. One of the early episodes I'm going to see. If you're down, if you're okay, obviously she's young, but if you want to come on and talk to me and my niece, yeah, I guess
Really?
this would be
That's what you're
formally
prefacing
inviting
it
you
with.
while live on your podcast. I don't sudden and I'm just very into talk and sort of faux radio internet chat these days. So yeah, I mean I always like talking to you, and I'm really happy to be here. And I'm sorry to have taken the floor from you just as soon as we
No,
began.
this is great. This is exactly how this podcast works.
Awesome, I love it.
Welcome.
I love podcasts now that I know what they are.
I don't even know
Now
why
that I
they're
looked
called
up RSS
podcasts
feed,
exactly. Like pod what? Like, I mean, was it iPod?
I'll
Like,
tell you.
tell
Well,
me why. I really
originally,
don't know because I hate calling
okay,
them
so
podcasts. It's just radio to
it
me.
was because of the iPod.
Okay, it is. Was
But
there
check
more
this
to it?
out.
Yeah. Go.
Well, I mean, that's why it was called that originally. But now they've changed the name officially. The brand product of earbuds are called AirPods. That's an Apple product. And Apple also has the Podcasts app. And they've sort of rebranded it. So now what it means is an audio program you listen to on your AirPods, which are your $100 earbuds, probably $200. So yeah, pods. It's still about pods. They shifted the meaning, the optics.
I don't know what button on this voluptuous soundboard to hit. Like, here's a rim shot, and here's an oh hell no,
Oh, hell no!
and something EA games.
Boy, I should have a soundboard.
Okay, so all of
Yeah,
those
I would just
things are
hit the fart
those.
noise all
We
the
play
time.
those on this because that describes my feelings about what you're saying.
All the things I'm saying. It is all.
Yes.
I mean, the word pod is really. It's very the whole thing. I was
So
asking. I've been telling a story a lot lately about how for 4 years I've been saying, "What's a podcast?" And people are like, "Oh, it's like when the guys from It's Always Sunny talk on YouTube." And I'm like, that doesn't really answer my
wait,
question.
they talk on
But
YouTube.
the who?
The guys from It's Always Sunny, and the gal.
Yeah, they do a podcast and it's on YouTube. So like
Is
at
it? Are
one
they
point
in
when I was
character
like,
on the show?
no, it's
Oh, I'm not
them
interested anymore.
talking about making the show.
Oh, did they talk
Yeah.
about NFTs? Because like the one guy's an idiot because he was selling people NFTs, and I don't like him anymore.
Ooh, which one?
The is it Ryan Robin McHenry or whatever? The
Rob Mackler. He's the guy that hangs out with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh no, does Ryan Reynolds into NFTs too? Because that like lowers
I don't know,
my.
but Ryan Reynolds like sells lots of things on
So
the internet,
so a
like
friend of
booze
mine,
and phones.
you do you know Status Ferret?
Yes. Well, I mean, yeah, as
But offhand, you
insofar
know
as
who
I
Status
follow a
is.
bunch of people on Twitter, I know who you're
You
talking
follow
about.
people on Twitter. Well, I mean, okay,
I
so
do.
Status.
That's what
So
it's there
there's
for.
an ongoing theme. So Status loves two things. He probably loves
All
other
right.
things too, but two things in particular: Donny Osmond and
All
Danny
right.
DeVito. So much
Great.
so that for their birthday at MFF, they were presented with a cardboard cutout standee of Danny DeVito, which was
Awesome.
present while we were playing a rogue panel of Pyramid and other chicanery that happened at the midnight panel. This is the one where this was the anti-talent show. Did we talk about the anti-talent show?
No.
So the anti-talent show
This was at MFF just very recently?
yes, it was just this
Okay.
past 2 weeks ago. And so we did an anti-talent show. This was Status's. It's a Status's panel called At Midnight, which is loosely, as I best understand it, is some sort of variety show gone awry, and essentially whatever you want to inject into the panel, you can do that. So the idea for this particular episodic version of it was anti-talent show. And so here I am, like, traveling out to the con. I'm trying to remember if I remember this story correctly. So I'm like on the panel, and a bunch of the other people are on the panel, Furs and whatnot. And it came out to be so, like, here I am. I got other things going on with this convention, and like I'm helping out other people, and I'm trying to organize all that. I'm getting packed, and I'm leaving, hoping the battery for my car doesn't die in the parking lot on the way. I'm in my driveway on the way out here.
Ooh.
That's how Basement Con started. Basement Con was load up the car with all the AV equipment to go do Basement Con, and and so it turned into about a 2 to 4 hour delay to get a battery installed.
Yeah. Oh God. Of course, it's,
I mean, it's better than it happening.
It's better than it happening in the middle of nowhere.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm always afraid to stop places, because I'm like, man, I've literally had a car explode on a freeway. I've also had a car explode in front of me on a freeway, and it was like Star Fox, where you kind of barrel roll. Like, I did a barrel roll, and I still ran over their flaming muffler.
To avoid an explosion on the freeway?
Yeah, I didn't barrel... I mean, I'm still here. If I barrel rolled a 94 Buick LeSabre, I think I don't know if I'd be here.
You know what? Doing a barrel roll to avoid an explosion is extremely furry behavior.
It used to be part of my stand-up act.
Yeah, you would do a barrel roll?
Life like a video game. So, I mean, I was always... Some idiot comedian told me one time to never talk about weather and traffic, and I said, you know what? Screw that. I'm going to make I'm just going to make a stand-up set based on my hair-raising situations I deal with in traffic, because I don't know how many people have had a muffler, like the entire exhaust system of a car fall off in front of them because the guy was pissed. And of course, this is that guy that wants to go like 100 miles an hour behind you. So he passes you on the right of like a 3-4 lane highway, and he passes you on the right and then careens across to the left, and the car just magically drops its exhaust system 50 feet in front of me. And I'm like, choose your expletive, and I wing it to the right just hard enough to make sure that it doesn't. It actually ended up I didn't run over it, but it caught part of my exhaust system. But I had one that was, back in the day, they were all built with steel, so they just welded a hole over it and everything was fine. They did just miss the gas tank though, and it was sparking. So I'm like, oh, that would have been just brilliant.
Oh. How did the other driver react?
Well, they just kept on driving. They probably didn't realize they dropped. They're
already
going 100 miles an hour. I mean,
boom.
But yeah, I mean, but normally you would pass on the left, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, there's some other car that's probably going like 50 miles an hour, 100 feet back from me, and one lane over. Like, I'm in the middle lane. Like, I'm in allegedly the safest place my insurer says to be in, and I'm like, hell no, I'm gonna be in that right-hand lane, because all of you people could just like. I've had people pass me on the shoulder, but that was a bit of an exception. I
mean, that's usually
This was just my daily drive to university. Of just it was brutal. But yeah, so that was when life was like a video game, and I basically, it was just a quick go, but it was just like the Star Fox 64 thing hit me, where you do the barrel roll, and I just I felt in my head like I did the flip and everything, because if I ran over that straight, I think it would have done a lot more damage than what it did. I just basically just tried, because I couldn't obviously completely spin the car out. Like, at some point you just got to accept you're going to run it over. But I mean, it came off spinning and sparking. It was amazing. I couldn't.
It sounds like quite.
How do you drop your whole exhaust system? What was it? It wasn't. It was not one of those cars that's just like duct tape that you just know to just stay away from. It wasn't that situation.
It sounds like something that would happen in a cartoon. Like, it sounds.
Yeah,
like
it was like the brand new car from a Ferraro dealership, and it just falls off.
Just dropping.
Just dropped it.
Am I allowed to say shit?
Well, you just did.
I mean, I'll stop.
You can stop.
Okay.
I have to be on my best. I'm generally on my best behavior.
I'm very sorry. I usually go into this kind of situation not saying that. But you're talking about a car blowing up on the freeway in front of you.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
We just
Let's
got to
move
pay.
on.
We got to pay those bills to the FCC.
Sure.
There you go.
Can you go back and bleep?
No,
Or
I'm just going to play the
you're
Mario
not
code.
planning
No,
on
I'm not.
editing?
I'm not going back.
Okay.
If there's editing involved in this, that's an amount of effort.
Good. That's a good
This
attitude to have.
podcast
Yeah.
does not generate enough
If you
income.
ever want me to edit out my own foul language, I will do that for you.
You do whatever you need to do.
I will. No, I mean, if you want to send me the file and have me edit out my own swears.
Do you understand with the way my internet currently works? And like, didn't I describe to you how my 25 Mbps internet? I don't even get that. So it's sort of like have you seen that movie with Alec Baldwin, where he's the sales guy and he comes in and is like
Glengarry Glen
Ross, yeah, and he's like, it's like first you get first place, gets a sports car. Second place, gets a box of steak knives.
Yeah.
Third place, you're fired.
You're fired.
In my life, it's first place, Rectum Spectrum just wins. Second place, you lose. Third place, you win even less. That's my experience.
It's bad. Yeah, you are on Spectrum, huh?
Yeah. Oh, it's Rectum Spectrum.
They actually, you know what? They've been doing better out here, but I've been getting some.
The people that come out, but try.
It comes and goes.
I actually got I don't understand. I do not yell at these people or anything, but let me run some diagnostics on your cable modem, and I'm like, but first of all, I provide my own equipment. B, it's been the same cable modem for 7 years. So I'm afraid to change anything because anytime I change something, it's like you're gonna blame the thing that I bought. So so there's this thing called DOCSIS 3.0, and they've started rolling out 3.1, which, as far as I understand it, is primarily for supporting even faster network speeds. Sure, there's probably some performance element, but just like how older Windows still runs, well, it's not exactly like that. The protocols, your internet doesn't just magically stop working because they're upgrading. You still have access to the internet, and it should still work. So but she's like, you have to upgrade this modem to 3.1 DOCSIS because it doesn't work with our stuff. And I'm like, okay, did you in the past 12 hours literally rip out all the telephone poles and replace all the telecom wires and replaced with only things that work with it? That's not how any of this works.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, you literally looked at my account information. I have 25 Mbps. You guys in the past, it was we were one of the places that actually early had the 1 gig lines, the one gigabyte per second lines, and the guy that came, because we had all these issues, we've had constant issues at the house, and so the guy comes out and it's like, if you actually had faster internet here, you'd only be getting maybe 300 if you were even paying, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, your company is, and it's not his problem, but it's like, I'm afraid to touch it because it's going to cost double to get off the plan that we're on. Because we were purchased from another provider.
That happened to me. Yep.
Yeah, and you should never change it because for whatever reason, they don't offer any sales or anything. If there was a sale and I could get the same thing I've been getting and more for it's just hard to say when it's $200 a month for services, and you aren't even getting the below what their baseline offering is that they sell. Why would I ever upgrade? I have enough problems as it is just to make this. Just to have this jalopy, roll down the street and just fall apart it's stalling at the red light. I gotta throw it in gear.
I've been in exactly that situation with that exact same thought. Why am I gonna pay more if the basic service doesn't
even less? You win. The prize is even less.
What in the world? It's terrible. It's a mess. Yeah, it's bad out here. We might be there's a company coming through putting down whatever fiber or whatever, so maybe
they are upgrading. We're supposed to get to 10 gigabyte or 2.5 or something faster. Where if you had DOCSIS 3.1 and you had all new equipment, and just how you have to, if you're going to do this, it's just if you want 4K, you got to have the TV, you got to have the entire, everything has to be that upper tier, because anything that is lesser quality, if I still have Cat 5 cable in the house, well, that's not fast enough, right? To maximize. So I'm not spending thousands of dollars to replace all of this for the fact that somebody's just stepping on the garden hose. Some there's some break in a line somewhere that's just going to screw all. Like, I can't get 25 Mbps. You're telling me there's 4,000 out there. I can't get 25. So, all right. But yeah, she was just adamant. That's just like, you need to upgrade this. And I'm like, okay,
It's
so
terrible,
you're going to
dude.
try to sell me Rectum Mobile too? You want to run those numbers? If I'm
and their
feeling,
job is to just sell it to you no matter what you say, and it's just like
it pops up on their
communication breaks
screen
down.
and they have to say it because
Yeah.
they'll get
And it's just
downgraded. And I really
insane.
it like there's like I understand like you want to have the same interaction with customer service,
Sure.
right? And it so like, you know, someone gets a fair and honest treatment from them. They want to have a consistent front, but like we've called so many hundreds of times. And with that popping up, when I'm saying I don't have functional internet and your little thing that pops up, like this is not their problem. This is a corporate level problem, just like how it's been nearly a year and they still haven't fixed the current issue. It's really fun to sit down to watch AEW wrestling, shout outs TBS, and then this is like a buffering thing. So the picture will freeze and then exactly like a certain amount of time later, it'll freeze again. And then it resumes in between this, and you might get a little bit of like a fuzz rebuffering thing, but it's pretty like it pretty much it's just stutters. It stutters, holds, goes, stutters again, and then goes, and it's the same exact amount of time. So to me, I think that there's a fitting out there in their field that because we had a bad fitting literally installed right off the pole from the house. They replaced that, and the frequency of the issues went down.
It's amazing that the problem can be that simple.
Well, it wasn't,
and no one notices.
The best part is they had the head level tech come out, and he was helping. Like they're training people constantly, so they had the trainee put it on. Do you know what didn't happen?
It didn't get screwed in and finalized.
He didn't install the fitting correctly, so when they had them come out to So, but the lead tech did not check their work. There were a million other things going on, but they didn't check their work, and that was how they literally came out to fix an issue, caused another issue. But because of the issues that we're having, they didn't. It's hard. It's hard to discern when you have like. It's not like the internet cable is just 100% out, which is a lot easier to diagnose. This is you got to basically set traps and monitor the network, and it is a game of whack-a-mole, and just dealing with this at the university level of just like things happening and then trying to isolate, and figure out, oh, it's this. It has to be on this mile-long thing, but good luck finding it. Like, okay, that's where the diagnostics end. So it's not like, I don't think it's not like they're not trying, but whatever's happening at the preventative maintenance, like there's a level above it. So like you usually have like 2, 5, and 10-year PMs for like for instance at at a university or whatever, like anything big. And basically every any building operations is just this. Every, so many years we don't care, like obviously if a light bulb goes out, we replace the light bulb. But every so many years, we just go through and replace all the light bulbs. Because there's no sense going out and replacing one light bulb at a time. They're all on a schedule, and we know the mean time before failure of certain things, they all get replaced. So something is either happening with, they can't identify issues in the wild, or that the preventive maintenance is, because it costs money to do this. It's just that they either don't have enough people, or they don't have enough resources.
I think they don't have enough resources.
Yeah.
I think that most companies in America are selling something that they don't actually have yet.
Everything's vaporware?
It really is. I think that a lot of things I think that is, especially in the case of an internet service provider, they don't have the resources to provide what they promise to the households they promise it to. They just don't. And most of their company is trying to figure out what they can say to get everyone to shut up about it. That's very cynical, but to an extent, that's what's happening. To an extent, they just don't have the resources. And a lot of places don't. Like, that's kind of why a lot of things are kind of crappy right now. And it's hard to get, service of any type because a lot of places simply don't have the resources to operate at all. But what are we going to do?
Yeah. So, I brought you on here, Koya. Not everyone knows who the heck you are. We were supposed to start a show. We talked about something that's probably more interesting than the actual show. So maybe, I don't know.
Internet service providers, that's a topic I'm very heated up about.
That we talk about this, the less time we get to talk about, our
Oh, I
wagertainment
certainly
special.
we can if you want to start over.
We don't need to start over. This is the
Okay,
episode. I don't think
great.
you understand
I'm
exactly what I'm
thank
doing with
you.
this podcast. Welcome
Not
to my
exactly.
funhouse.
Not exactly.
I'm having
Thank you
fun
for having
here.
me here.
I don't care
Awesome.
what anyone thinks about continuity or anything
Good.
else going
Oh
on.
my
I live
God,
like a
I'm
dinosaur.
on.
So,
Yeah. All right. I'm on your level.
but
I'm
perhaps you'd
picking up
like
what you're
to
putting down.
actually now that we've had a 20-minute conversation, perhaps you'd like to introduce yourself to the audience and talk about some of the things that you do.
Hi, I'm Koya DK. That's CUYADK.TV if you like. That's where all of my socials are. I am on Etsy and Patreon primarily. I make soap for a small company called Lake House Soaps, owned by me and my mother in Connecticut. And you can see some of that and find out more about that and my streaming and talking to people garbage and podcasts that I've mentioned at koyadk.tv. And Iggy, thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here. Anytime that you want me to talk to you about anything or do something like this, or I can't wait to see what happens with Iggy Talks Too Much.
Yeah, Iggy does talk way too much.
I can't wait. I can't wait to listen to you talk too much all the time instead of the Always Sunny guys.
Well, I mean, Spotify is I don't know. I'm not. I don't think I'm beating Joe Rogan. I don't think my audience. I don't think I want my audience
Okay.
to be Joe Rogan.
I listen on Apple Podcasts.
Does it work?
No, well, I mean, no, I don't think. Well, I didn't. I
You
haven't
can't listen
checked
to me
since-
on Apple Podcasts. So why do you
That's
have
what
Apple
I'm saying.
Podcasts?
I'm saying I listen to podcasts.
Do you
But
actually
I'll
listen?
download. I will download Spotify. I listen to Boozy on Apple Podcasts.
Oh, cool! Wow,
Right.
I'm amazed he figured that one out.
But I'll download Spotify if that's how I have.
No,
to listen to
I
you.
can put it on Apple. I didn't.
Don't do it just for me. Do it for
You
you.
keep saying that, but there's
Okay.
probably like 2 listeners,
But
and
then
one
I
of them
keep
is me,
mentioning
and
that I
one
want
of them
it
is
on
you.
Apple.
So
I could download Spotify. We'll figure it out.
I don't want to. The Spotify scares me because,
Okay.
just like Twitch these days, so you go in.
Twitch is an insane.
Like
cult
it's
these
that
days.
time of year, and they love
Yeah.
the giving of gifts, and they will show
Oh,
you
yes.
all the things you've been listening and doing.
Oh boy, it's exciting.
And all I can think of is, oh my goodness, they how much advertising trove do they have on all these people that I could just send you your advertising profile with us.
Oh, yeah.
You listen
Yeah,
to
here it
90s
is.
alternative. You listen to
This is what you gave us this year.
This
is the
is-
this is a rough summary of the information we scraped
and
out
it's
of your
only
life
just a
this year.
taste.
Here
So
it is.
I actually enjoyed it when I got, because everyone's doing the whatever, was it Twitch recap? They called it something.
Sure. Yep.
And I made
Yep.
sure to not go to a third party because there's third parties that offer us, but I'm not releasing you that data. No way. So,
What the hell?
but Twitch had a way to do it, and on our
Yep.
retro community was like, okay. So I click on the thing, and it basically doesn't have any data about me because I think I use so many old programs and different APIs that none of that stuff counted on their systems. So
I love that.
The Twitch server that I am, I'm just invisible to them, and I find that amazing. But yeah,
At what point yeah. I think that's great. On one side of that, I think it's great.
so all right. So now that we've basically made an even better episode than I could ever have imagined making, talking about our wagertainment. Do you want to hop into the Jeep Grand Cherokee Pinto Mercury Hummer Pontiac Oldsmobile Saturn Studios? That's what we'll do. I will do. You ready?
I would
you ready
love to. Yeah.
All right. So we're
All of those companies.
yes. Well, it's
sponsor
GMT,
this?
which is not
Okay.
Greenwich Mean Time or whatever. Well, it is.
GMT owns all those companies.
Yeah,
Is
GMT,
that-
because we needed
That's
an
funny.
actual sponsor that doesn't have an actual brand
Okay.
attached to it. But yeah, we're in those studios,
Sure.
and we're continuing to the other half of Iggy Talks Too Much, episode 2, the air check. We got Koya DK with us. I'm Iggy Dota. You can find me on Twitch. I'm also twitter.com for however long that lasts /Iggy Dinosaur. And there's a link tree on the top that has all my other links, Patreon, all that other fun stuff. But remember, all wagering advice should never be used. In fact, you should never wager. As our betting sponsor, Caesars and Cleopatra's Popina and Wagering Parlor says, you can sign up, but you're going to lose your shirt. But you can sign up today with a promo code by sending a chariot with a stone carving with the phrase Full Caesar, and upon winning your first wager, you'll win 23 big ones in the Rotunda. So we're going to break down the overs, unders, the spreads, and every which way in football action this week. Football action because we got World Cup finals this week, so we got 2 additional games to handicap. And be sure to check out Koya at twitch.tv/ was it? It's koyadk.tv. So CUYADK.tv. CUYA.
That's the most
DK.tv.
concise.
It'll be in
Thank
the description of the thing, as well as we're live on Twitch now. So I have your Twitch on here.
Thank you so much, and that's fine too.
Yeah, it's always hard with the links now because it's like, so there's this thing called Linktree.
That's why.
But the problem with Linktree is like, I don't want to like say dot res tree / Iggy Dinosaur. I mean, it's just like go to my Twitter and then find the thing with all the links and like. So I should just do what you did because.
But that's why I say koyadk.tv because it is the most, and all my links are there. But I do want to set up a link tree.
So, all right. So tonight we got Thursday night hand eggs. So it's a special weekend. So the other thing that's
Amazon
actually
Prime?
I'm actually not going to be able to watch the games on Saturday because we have. I'm going to be on Speedrun Hall of Fame. It's a Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Speedrun Hall of Fame. We're going to be doing a blind race with 3 other people who I will know better after Saturday. I'm not familiar with everyone. There's a lot of names being thrown around. But it'll all be happening at 6 p.m. Eastern Saturday, Speedrun Hall of Fame, over on Twitch. And it's called the game show is called Lifeline, and essentially the idea is we're going to blind race a game for 4 hours. So blind race being like one of the possible games. I was given a list. Basically, they had to figure out a game none of us know. So like Space Quest or Simon's Quest, Castlevania 2. It's like that kind of game, and you can ask for help in various ways, sort of like a Millionaire. The titular thing is called Lifeline, where you can go in and you lose all your other help. So you have 50-50. So you can ask a question and they might lie to you or not. You can poll the audience for a question. You can have 60 seconds with a friend who can literally tell you anything they want. That seems to be my strategy. I'll just say it right now. My friend is probably I probably got Yogi or Overswarm to help me with this because it's probably going to be a retro game, and we know how we talk to each other. Like we should be able to in 60 seconds get me on the right track. But if the other fourth choice is the Lifeline, so you can ask the hosts any question you want. I think it has to be yes or no, or I think it's just a question. They will answer it honestly, but you have to sit in the penalty you can't play for 2 minutes, and you lose all your other help. So it doesn't seem like you would want to use that. So anywho, that's what's going on. 6 p.m. Eastern Saturday, Speedrun Hall of Fame on Twitch, and if you would just, I would watch the main broadcast, but I will be streaming it on here, so you forget and see, I'm streaming. It'll be probably just the game noise, and then you go over to the main stream for the thing. All right. So, that's busted. Cool.
Oh no.
No, my split program is very crashed, so we're gonna not use that.
Is that what you're timing the broadcast with?
No, that's for the Parallel Worlds ROM hack we've been playing through, and I didn't want to.
Oh, you just had it left
over.
I
had the timer. I just been using it as a timer. Because we're at I wanted to know how long it took to beat it. But all right, so let's go over some of the NFL games this week with someone who probably doesn't even watch NFL, but they do make
But on Thursday, it's on Amazon tonight, right?
Yeah,
Thursday
you can watch it on Twitch too.
Oh, that's right. It's on Amazon on Twitch on Thursday.
Yeah,
so
I think the goal is after this year. I think they want advertisers all the money, the amount of money that they make from advertisers. I think they want. I would not be surprised if it's free at some point. Wouldn't be surprised. Okay. But it's currently free if you watch it on Twitch. But if you have Prime, you can watch it on Prime. So tonight is the San Francisco 49ers against the Seattle Seahawks, and you have you're welcome to take any. You're welcome to talk about any prop you want, but I generally focus on the spread and the total over. Money line is just you're just betting them straight to win or lose, but the odds are not. How do you say? If a team is heavily favored to win, you're not going to get paid out 1-to-1 on that.
Okay.
So, what do you think about this game?
Well, I seem to recall the San Francisco 49ers winning the Super Bowl many years in a row. But
Back in the Joe Montana
I've been alive
days.
for a long time.
Well, they currently have a person by the name of Brock Purdy. It's Purdy
Oh,
time
wow.
at quarterback.
Okay.
Now, I know you probably don't know much in the way of NFL quarterbacks, but basically, they've now gone through like 4 quarterbacks this season, and the 49ers look to be a serious Super Bowl threat, or Super Bowl threat,
Super
um,
Bowl.
as they just beat up the Tom Brady Buccaneers by the tune of like 35-3 or something, or 35-7. It was disgusting. They were in garbage time at the basically the second half kickoff. Garbage time meaning that the game's over and you might as well just pack it up because it was a real bad show. But they seem to just have the unit because like literally the hardest thing to replace on a team is well if the quarterback changes. Okay, backup quarterbacks usually are like 1/10 the production of like you're taking somebody who already is supposed to be a failure and everything else they're not going to score any points. It's going to be a disaster. There's a few good backups in the league, but they managed. So the funny thing about Brock Purdy is he's Mr. Irrelevant. He was the last without getting into supplemental drafts, but there's normally 7 rounds in the NFL draft you'd hear about. Um, he was the very last pick in the draft, and now he's the hottest thing since sliced bread because I think he's currently undefeated, and he just beat the goat. And he didn't just beat him; he basically gave him
Embarrassed
the
him.
worst beat of one of the worst beats of his career. Now, there's other things going on with the Bucks because they're basically missing their O line. They're missing all their key receivers. They're missing half their defense, and they basically have
Where
Brady slinging the ball to people who are not as good as the people he should have. He's having a very rough
where
season.
did everyone other than Brady go?
Well, they're all hurt. The injury list this year is immense, and I think a lot of it has to do with the additional game on the schedule. How I don't know if it has to do with COVID and just everyone stopped, and now this is really the first year they're probably back with full practices aren't skipped or anything. Like just think of the fitness. Think of being in like the absolute ridiculously
Yeah.
peak fitness. COVID hit, and people had to try to stay fit, and now this is basically the first year back.
And now we're back at it.
We have the issue of a lot of terrible injuries on turf. There really shouldn't be turf anywhere. It's the same kind of issue with tracks that aren't taken care of well for horse racing. You get a lot more
Should
a lot
there
of leg
be-
injuries, non-contact injuries, where torn ACLs, Achilles. There's been a lot of really bad injuries this season. I mean, there always is, but just this season, I feel that the injury rate is higher, and part of the reason is we're talking about it Thursday Night Football. They have Thursday night games,
that's the
and now
extra
they're
one.
flying away teams. Every team now has to have a Thursday night game, and the players wanted this. Like the problem is your body really can't recover very well week to week, anyways. So add a game where you only have a couple days to recover, because keep in mind, like after Monday, you do film room the Monday Tuesday, and then you're already back you're already back in practice early in the week, so you're already like to recover. You aren't doing as heavy things the first couple days, but like by the time the week rolls on, you're back in contact practice. That like you're doing all your everything is back to full steam, and some people are going to get hurt doing that, and when you have to play on Thursday after playing on Sunday, that's really rough.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
they organized it so that there's a bye week now. You get a week off because every team gets one every year after your Thursday game. But some of the teams are also flying away to either Germany or the UK or Mexico to play a game there. So think about flying out there and making your week is now and then throw the
Germany?
yeah.
For
The reason
spectacle?
everybody's in on it. Well,
An exhibition?
the UK, there's a lot of money to be made, and those
Yeah.
audiences, like even Australia, has a very large contingent of NFL fans. There's a lot of AFL, Aussie Rules football fans that are big into NFL. So, but anywho, on tonight's game, so you got 49ers -3. So are you familiar with how spreads work? So if I say 49ers
Not
are
at
the
all.
favorite,
I don't know anything about
This is great.
wagering.
so
I've never wagered. I played blackjack one time.
good. You should never wager, and Caesar and
That's the
Cleopatra's
advice
Copine
here.
and Wagering Parlor suggests you should never wager. But if you were to, you should use the promo code Full Caesar.
Okay.
So
Which I have to inscribe in a block of
you have to
stone or
inscribe it
something?
in a stone tablet, send it by chariot, yeah, all that,
Okay.
and then they
Gotcha.
will send you 23 big ones in the rotunda.
Horse-drawn buggy. Big what's?
I don't know if do they have straw? So you got 49ers. So the way you read it is the spread is -3. The 49ers are the favorite to win. If you were to bet the 49ers and you bet them at -3, you need the 49ers to win by 4 points to win your bet. If they only
Okay.
win by 3 points, it's a push. And if you bet the
Okay.
Seahawks, they can lose by up to 2 points and you would still win your bet. Usually
All
the
right.
lines will be a half point so that somebody wins, somebody loses. For those that do actually gamble, you would never. There's something called a teaser where you can go to bet this and you can basically from a slider pick. Yeah, I can basically take a lower payout but make the line -2.5, so I win if they win by at least a field goal. But
Gotcha.
there's something called vigorous. You understand the house always wins. You understand like the
Yes.
house always has an edge. Every time you add something to a wager like that or do parlays, they keep baking in additional percentages. So basically, you should only take the straight offer unless you really know what you're doing. You should never take teasers. Sorry. So I mean, for tonight, I mean, just talking about the quarterback situation, and we didn't talk about the Seattle Seahawks struggled to score points. They struggled to throw the ball. For some reason, So they played the Carolina Panthers on Sunday, and a lot of people got absolutely murdered on the betting on that because the Seattle Seahawks they were like I think they were like a 3-point favorite or something at one point, and they quickly became the dog in that game. They lost really bad. They couldn't score points. Carolina ripped up their QB. Carolina is like where QBs go to die, basically. Like Baker Mayfield's career almost ended there, and now he has a career again because he made a miraculous comeback against the Rams. Was it the Rams? Last Thursday. He was just dropping dimes. He was just throwing perfect passes, and he looked great coming off of free agency. Like somebody needed a quarterback, so they picked him up. I think it was the Rams. He won it on the Rams. Sorry, he saved the Rams season because Matthew Stafford, who did win the last Super Bowl, he has a concussion injury. So he's it's another team that's really struggled this season, but they have not found a good quarterback. And maybe they can. It's going to be very difficult for them to make the playoffs. Whereas the 49ers look pretty much destined to make the Super Bowl at this point, or at least be a serious challenger. So I like 49ers here at -3 just because I think they're going to destroy the Seahawks with how bad they just looked on all sides of the ball last week.
It seems like well, of course, you should never wager, but it does seem like the 49ers are a good bet. I'm going to watch this. I'm going to watch this game tonight on Twitch.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's obvious in 49ers, it seems like +3 is very
-3.
more than fair.
If it was +3, they'd be the underdog. But yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I got you. I
Okay.
got you now.
So next one we got. So Saturday has a slew of games, which I think are all on NFL Network for people that actually want to follow this. We got Colts Vikings. Minnesota Vikings are in the same. They just got shown up by the Detroit Football Lions. Detroit, yes. They actually had an offensive lineman take a pass on 4th down to get the Lions beat the Vikings by trick plays. So, the O-line guy is one of the 300-pound guys. Yeah, he caught a pass because the Vikings just... I have no idea what they're doing. The Vikings were in line as far as... they're currently 10-3. The Lions are 6-7. So the playoffs work. You win your division of 4 teams, you go to the playoffs. Then there's 3 wild cards based on record after that. If the Lions
when do the
win
playoffs
out...
begin?
The playoffs begin in about a month. As of now, there's every team, unless they still have a bye week left, every team has 4 games left coming into this week. So this week and 3 more weeks. And maybe 1 more week after that. Like playoffs used to start like the first week of January. Now I believe they start the second week of January because they added another week. All this Thursday night garbage. They added another game.
They
added another game to the season.
And that's why they're getting injured.
You used to play, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. But the players, everyone was cool with it because it basically meant even the people who make league minimum are going to make a lot more money because of the Thursday night payout and because of the other contracts and the additional game. So they're like, well, if that, I forget what the exact number was, but your league, let's say league, I don't know what league minimum is right now, but say it's $300,000. Well, if everyone plays the Thursday night game, we'll make that league minimum $400,000. Done.
Yep.
And that, and you still get paid certain things if you're injured. There's certain things that you get, but like you have to be on the team. Like people that are on practice squad and stuff, that's a whole nother But this year's been weird because we've had quarterbacks being signed off the free agency in like week 13 because good teams need a quarterback because they need to, and then practice squad is basically the people that can't make the regular team but they need people to practice with. So like your weekly practices. So those people don't make league minimum. They make they're not signed to a team. They don't count as part of the active roster. But yeah. All right. So Vikings -4. I have no idea. So the other story here is that the Colts are a very wayward team, and nepotism is a fun word. They basically hired.
I use it way too much these days.
They hired an offensive lineman who had relations with the team. I forget what he was coaching before. Yeah, offensive lineman. Yeah. He played. Basically, instead of hiring a quote-unquote real coach, they hired a guy who coached high school once, never basically coached professionally. Now, I mean, he got paid to coach high school, but he never coached at university, and he never coached at the NFL level. And he's actually beat the Raiders. Now, the Raiders are scarcely defined as a footballing team, but he did beat the Raiders. And the question I have here is that the Vikings need to win games. If they stop winning games, they may not even make the playoffs. It's actually possible. But currently
they're on a run.
They just lost to the Lions, which are basically one of the biggest jokes in. But the Lions have now won 5 out of the last 6. They started the season, I think, like 1-6, and now they're 6-7. So is it that the Lions are actually good? I think the Lions' defense is actually really good. Their offense, well, how do I say this? There's something in Hand-Egg known as the chaos factor. The Lions picked up in their first round pick.
If Velociraptors are going to show up on the field.
They picked up Aiden Hutchinson, and Aiden Hutchinson played at Michigan, and he basically was a defensive end. He's on the defensive line, and the guy's really, really good. And by chaos factor is basically what is the X factor. He's grabbed multiple interceptions in a game, returned one for a touchdown. He bats down passes. He is a mess for offensive lines to handle, and he's just really, really good. And there's the problem is like the Lions' overall defense has given up. Well, at one point they were the worst defense in the league, while their offense was actually the best offense in the league. So you have a problem here. You can score a lot of points, but then you give it all back, right? But at times in games where like this was earlier on in the season, I think it's kind of regressed a little bit to the mean where the defense is doing an adequate job, and sometimes they get Hutchinson, miracle interception, or the quarterback for whatever reason gets bored and just throws a pass to one of them. They play enough bad teams that they're able to exploit enough mistakes that other teams are making, and the other teams that they're playing, like Kirk Cousins at the Vikings is just not. He's all right, but like the Vikings have won so many ridiculously close games, and that's where I get to this line. I don't think the Vikings are going to run away with this show. I think it's going to turn into they might win by not enough points to cover the spread. So the Vikings don't win by, they win by only a field goal, which is, I mean, Jeff Saturday's not great, but I think the Colts are finding, some type of footing here. I think they're not. It's not like they're going to score 0 points in this game, and I don't think the Vikings are going to look good enough with how bad they look defensively against the Lions and how just they got, like trick plays on 4th down. Like you're playing Madden, I'm going to run a fake punt. You don't really do that in real life on your own 20-yard line, but the Lions did, and it worked because the Vikings just aren't, there's certain signals and stuff you're looking for, and they're just not paying attention. So. So I like the Colts in this game, but I definitely want those points. And if the spread was to move to 3 or less, I don't want it. But that's what I'd go with. And I wouldn't touch the over-under here because I really don't know what Kirk Cousins is going to show up. I mean, if they go up and score 30 points, it's probably going to be a struggle for the Colts to find 30 points. But if the Vikings I've seen week after week only score like 20 points, it's really hard to win hand-egg games only scoring a handful of points. What do you think?
Wow, you just said a lot of things.
Well, who do you like? You got Colts, Vikings, we got over-under, we got...
Well, I think
over-under is just the total number of points scored between both teams.
Sure.
Add them up, it doesn't matter.
I think, I've got to look at it from a perspective, if we had a bunch of Colts and Vikings on the field, obviously it would be Vikings who would win.
Fair enough. So you could take in the Vikings?
If I was asked, I sure would, yeah. But and also, Yeah, the X factor is interesting because I would kind of root for the underdog, and if they're losing to the Lions, you know that sounds like that would be a fun team to root for during the game. But we don't know.
It
Yeah, we
certainly
don't know
helps
which
the
guy's going to
Lions if the
show up.
Vikings were to start losing, because that basically means
Yeah,
the
sure.
Vikings. There's like 4 games left. If the Vikings just lose all their games, the Lions could just win the division, and that would be one of the strangest comebacks of all time.
So did you say that the Lions have 10 wins right now?
No, the Vikings have 10 wins.
Oh, the Vikings do. Okay, that's
Yeah.
why I asked if they were on a run. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Something about I got mixed up about the Lions. and the
Vegas
Vikings at that
actually
point, but-
favored the Lions in that game on Sunday. The Lions were a 2.5-point favorite over the Vikings. Don't ask me why. I mean, I figured I would have taken the Lions. I don't know if I would have taken them at -2.5, but like money line, like who's winning the game, I would have taken the Lions over the Vikings on Sunday, just because when your offensive production is just, you don't know where you're going to go out and score 10 or 30.
Animals.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
amazing.
he's
Yeah.
following.
And that is the
JSR's
chaos
following.
factor, yeah.
How you doing?
All right, what's up?
Speedrun Hall of Fame Saturday. 6 p.m.
Nice. Yes.
It was JSR, one of the hosts. I have no idea.
I
I don't have no
will
idea what
be-
we're following while talking like the most non-retro thing of all time. But
Current footballing.
we got Koya in the studio. We talked a bit. Now we're running down the actual
The
NFL
last time that I knew anything about what was going on in football, Plaxico Burress was on the team.
Wow, that's not that long ago. I don't play.
This was a minute ago.
So
I almost bought a Plaxico jersey.
It is a good name.
It really is.
It's like a Home
If
Depot
I
name. You
would
should've got
put
a
that jersey on the
sponsorship.
wall if I had actually bought it back in the day. That would absolutely be on the wall in here.
So we got Ravens and Browns, the second game on the slate Saturday. And the
Okay.
Ravens are favored by 3 points. And just having seen the Ravens play, it's basically what's his name? Harbaugh the coach. Basically, the Ravens are basically built to win extremely close games. And games are just like, I think the last game Sunday they played the Jets, and I think they won like 11-12 or something. It was
Okay.
it's just it's that, just ram the ball up the middle the
Very
whole
close.
game.
Okay.
And let me look at their last scoreline. They beat the Steelers 16-14, and the Steelers they're okay after Roethlisberger left, and they're kind of doing a rebuilding thing. But like, here's their last 3 scoring lines: 16-14, 10-9 over the Broncos, 28-27 losing to the Jaguars. So if I'm getting Ravens +3, I think I like that. And the Browns are currently, is that the because Deshaun Watson, Mr. Naughty guy who got in serious trouble, and
Mr. Naughty Guy.
yeah,
On the Ravens?
it's a whole sex
I seem to
scandal
remember-
thing. It involves
Yeah, was there a story
parlors.
last year about
He's
a
the guy that
Raven
had
being an
22
asshole?
lawsuits, and for some reason he's allowed to play on the NFL because we don't care.
Right.
It's all about the money. We don't care about anything to do with, people. It's just not cool what happened, and I'm just it's just terrible that he's even allowed to play. But it is technically an off the field thing, but like, it's really bad. It's not like one person came forward and it's disputed or anything. There's 22 people that had 22. How do you settle 22 separate different lawsuits? It's really dumb. But anywho, so Deshaun Watson really didn't look very impressive in that debut. In fact, I believe they lost to the Bengals on Sunday, and they lost pretty bad. So I don't even understand why the Cleveland Browns are the favorite for this game. That one I don't get. So I'm taking the Ravens here, mainly because, like, I don't like Deshaun Watson or what that stands for. But I also think just by the numbers, the Ravens are going to win. If they don't win, they're not going to lose by much, and I think the +3 keeps you in the game there.
I have a friend who lives in Baltimore, so
Is it I was thinking of Hairspray. Do they have Ultra Deluxe Hairspray?
like that movie with John Travolta.
Yeah, John Travolta in a drag role with
Yeah, I don't think I.
It's got Christopher Walken in it too.
Oh my god, I should see that.
You haven't seen it? It's a remake of
John Waters, right?
Jonathan Waters' Hairspray. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think I think it was a movie cast. I don't think they brought over anyone from the musical, because I think there is a musical version of it recorded somewhere, Maybe it was just a staged. I don't know. But the one that specific one I think was redone for. It's got Amanda Bynes in it, so like I don't think she was.
Whoa.
Yeah, right. Pre.
Strange.
Speaking of personal problems, pre the alcohol, like the whole falling out of being a child star thing, and I really need not have this Sharpie over my drink.
Oh, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, I don't want orange juice with Sharpie in it. All right, so that's that one. What else we got here? We got the closing out Saturday. Now keep in mind, it's more important you watch Speedrun Hall of Fame on Saturday,
which is what I will be watching instead of this. But I'm gonna watch football tonight.
Yeah, tonight's game should be pretty good. I'm really excited. Really, like if you want to see an offense that's working well, like watching how, and also they got Boza on the defensive line for the Niners. The Niners, I think, are going to play that game really well. And so, if I'm wrong, maybe I'll get in Discord with you while I'm watching it with my mom later.
Okay, cool.
And I'll
yeah,
give you some
I'll be around unless I'm asleep or something.
Because I don't have I don't have access to all 22, and also like as much as I'd love to put stuff like that on the podcast. Also, it would need video, but like I don't think I can restream NFL footage and break
Probably
down
not.
the various. But there's some
that
really
would
good
be
things
fun.
that I think would be because it's just that the things that mechanically the Niners are doing, it's just all the basics. It's just they have good people doing it. They're a little bit faster, and they're able to make little adjustments and run like seam routes, and they're just destroying defenses with the various play calling that they're doing, and it's really good stuff. And also like they're using it, like they literally have an interchangeable quarterback. What better system could you want? I mean, your quarterback gets hurt, and you're now like the 4th, 5th quarterback of the season. That's pretty impressive to me. Because normally, like, okay, Brady goes out, who's up next? Well, I don't have a plan B, and plan B is usually nowhere near as good. But they found a good system, and they were able to basically, it's not like the guy's bad. Like keep in mind, like the guy played at Iowa State, was drafted. It's just that a lot of things are overlooked, and just because somebody was drafted highly doesn't mean that. But they can sling a football, okay? They can sling the ball, they can complete passes, and they're good enough to fit in a system that has a lot of other good parts working. So, all right, so we got last game on Saturday, Dolphins Bills. So Dolphins got Tua Tagovailoa, who is an amazing quarterback, but really struggled over the week. In fact, they're now a 7-point favorite in this game, which to me is a bit strange.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
a touchdown and an extra point. So but they kind of got shown up. Let me pull up the scoreline because they think they were they the Sunday night game? So this is a big division matchup too. So we the playoff situation. Yeah, they lost to the Chargers. Oh yeah, that was the game. That was the Sunday night game, I think. And Tua was on record to actually complete the fewest passes. So we're talking about like things not working correctly. I saw receivers. So like the quarterback and the receiver, like they know what route's going to be run, right? He's throwing to like the wrong route. Like he's throwing the ball completely in the wrong direction behind the guy. It looked so bad. And at halftime, he was like 3 for 15 or 2 for 15 on completions, which was actually on pace to be very near the all-time record of the lowest completion rate in an NFL game ever. This is going back to the prior years where they didn't really throw the pass. They didn't really, like Terry Bradshaw, who's been on TV for like 40 years as an analyst, who played football like in the 60s and 70s and early 80s, I think. That's the kind of record book we were breaking into, of complete 15% of your passes in a modern game where you throw 40 passes in a game, and like it's a bad night if you only make 20 of them, and usually the completion rate's like 65% for considered to be a decent game. And just you don't want to throw, if you're only making that many if you're not making any passes, you're not moving anywhere. But that was basically, and then he cleaned it up in the second half, almost caught up, and then they ended up losing. So I really don't know what to expect with the Dolphins here, and the reason they're a 7-point favorite, or 7-point underdog, excuse me, so they're getting 7 points on the spread, is because the Bills are they got Josh Allen, they're 10-3, and if the Bills win, well, they pretty much shut down the division, because that means that everyone will be 3 games or more behind them. And I mean, the Bills have Josh Allen and a defensive unit that's only given up about 221 points on the season. In fact, they have given up the least points of everyone in their conference, so that it's broken into 2 conferences. So of the 16 teams in the conference, their team has given up the least points. So I think that's tough. I think it's really tough considering what we saw from Tua. Something's not clicking with their offense. and I kind of expect the Bills to score about 30 points and Miami to score between 10 and 20. So I would take the Bills here, even
That
minus
sounds
the
like a
points.
very extreme. Yeah.
I would really like if somehow that line got bought down to 6.5. I like that a lot more because there's a reasonable chance of it being a 7-point line that it's going to push. And the longer you go with the line, eventually a team takes the gas off towards the end of the game and they just manage winning the game, right? So, they're not playing for you to win your bet. So that might just be a no bet, to be honest. Like if I was actually like thinking about it. All right, so that's
Sure.
all of the Saturday
So,
games.
and that's the official advice of this podcast.
The official advice of this podcast is just don't.
Do not wager. Yeah.
But be sure to stop by Porky's Nightmare Bacon and Everything Else Emporium. Nothing says the holidays better than a deliciously mouth-watering holiday ham. Be sure to stop in and ask about their 2 hams for $20 deal and tell them Porky sent you. So we have the Sunday slate of games, and we'll try to go through them a little bit quickly here.
Do you have any information regarding whether or not those hams will be sopping wet?
They will be sopping wet and succulent and moist. Absolutely.
All right, that's what I need.
That's a promise.
And I can't wait. Then I'm gonna call them up.
Eagles Bears, and the Bears
When?
are favored 1:00
Is
on
this Sunday?
These are Sunday games. Eagles Bears 9 points. Bears are the underdog. Bears have struggled. Bears are in the same conference as the Lions and the Vikings, and they're having a hard time making points in games. Just sort of the same problem that the Vikings have, and they've not really sort of like how the Ravens. Just that I know Harbaugh is really good at play calling with their coaching staff to manage a very close game. The Bears just struggle all around. The reason the Eagles are a 9-point favorite, well, they're currently 12-1 and are also considered to be one of the favorites to go to the Super Bowl at this point. But they've had some weeks where they kind of looked a bit tricky. But I don't know. This is kind of a no bet to me just because I don't know how hard the Eagles are going to win this game. 9 points is kind of getting up to the point. And I don't like the money lines. It's like, well, you wager $1,
Yeah.
and you're going to get back like $1.20. So it's a kind of a lot of risk knowing that, hey, I mean, if they show up and lay an egg, quarterback's having a bad day, and the Bears are in there, all of a sudden
That's
your
funny
bet
because
doesn't
they're
look
Eagles.
good. They lay an egg. So this one's kind of a no bet to me.
I'm betting on the Eagles.
You like
I'm
the
betting
Eagles?
on them to go all the way. I'm rooting for them for the Super Bowl this year.
Ooh.
I love it. I love their momentum. I also like Eagles.
Do you think you're going to get another It's Always Sunny special if they go to the Super Bowl? Remember the episode where they go to the...
That is I mean, I don't know. Did they do that because the Eagles actually won the Super Bowl this year?
Well, they built a whole story arc around them, and they did actually film
Yeah.
at the... they might have filmed in the box,
they did
not
actually
during the Super
win.
Bowl, but they did. I think they did film it at a box at the...
Yes.
Like they got footage from the game that's actually in there. I don't know
Yes.
how they got the rights from the NFL to put that in the show, but they did. Because it actually has like the overlay and stuff, and them reacting to it.
I was gonna mention. Good for you, very prescient of you. I was gonna mention the other reason that I'm rooting for the Eagles is because of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. This recently has become a thing because I've been listening to podcasts and stuff.
All right.
I like Philadelphia. It's nearby. Did I? Oh.
No, next game we got Lions Jets. And
Okay.
so the Jets, they started the season out pretty strong, and basically it's rare that even one, if not both, of the the ones actually named New York footballing teams, because the Bills, of course, are also in New York. It's just everyone forgets that.
Yeah.
But the Jets are typically terrible, and the New York footballing Giants are also usually terrible. But this year they actually both have had pretty good years.
It's
questioned their performance.
It's not a great footballing part of the world to be from, where I'm from. I'm right
I'm
between
surprised
Jets
this is
and
a pick'em
Giants.
game. Like, you already know what I'm picking. After seeing what I've seen of the Lions, the fact that this is a pick'em game means there's no spread. You pick your team to win. That's it.
Yeah.
I would just take the Lions here. The
Absolute
Jets are now
100%.
7-6. They seem to be on the downtrend because they started the season like 7-1 or something. Now they're 7-6. The Lions started the season 1-6, and they're now way better. So one team seems to have figured it out. The other team seems to be struggling. And the Jets, honestly, if they lose this game, I mean, like, they're basically at the point where they might not make their chance to make the playoffs is honestly worse than the Lions, because in their own division, they're already behind both the Dolphins and the Patriots and the Bills. So remember, there's only 3 wild card spots. Not even considering that there's other teams that are ahead of them in the wild card hunt, the Bengals and the Chargers. They're pretty much on the outside looking in unless they win out. They may not win the division, but if they want a wild card spot, there's at least 4 other teams vying for that spot. So there's at least 5 teams for 3 slots, and they're on the bottom end of it currently. So they lose this game, they're probably done for the wild card. Whereas the Lions, their division has weaker team. Well, as far as record for non-division leaders, I mean the Lions have a hell of a lot to play for, in my opinion, and I think just their performance against the Vikings, without getting into too many of the X and O's, is just things are clicking for them, and the Jets are not. Any thoughts on that game?
Yeah, and on this game and in general, of course, you should not bet, but
you should.
A really good, but secondary, if you're gonna bet, a really good thing to keep in mind is to just not bet on the New York Football Jets or Giants.
Those are 2 separate teams. If they had both of those teams, I think I would still take the Lions.
Do not bet on either of those teams. Those teams have not been doing great for years.
Like, I honestly think the Lions should be like a 2 or 3 point favorite in this game. That's what I've seen. So I don't know.
I mean,
I think that's because the Lions partially move based on what people are betting because they want to cover both ways. Once you buy a ticket, you already have that ticket in hand. Like if the line moves after you buy the ticket, it's what you bought on the ticket. So they want to. So, like, I don't know what this line opened at, but currently it's at Pick'em. Like if I was setting the line, I think the Lions are a slight favorite, but I don't know if that line was bet to that. But I just think for how many times, like people have betting rules to not bet on, for, or against the Detroit Football Lions because they will screw you. If they will not cover some, like back when they were getting like 20-point dogs in games, they would never even cover the spread because they were that bad. People would joke that the university team could beat them because they were just that bad. They're definitely not the worst team in the league anymore, but they sure looked at the beginning of the season. But I don't know, whatever. I feel that line is wrong, and I like the Lions in that game.
I like them too.
All right, so we got Falcons Saints. Saints have just looked wayward. They're like, considering worst teams in the league, they might be one of them. They lost to the Bucks on Monday night last week. To Brady pulling off one of the biggest turnarounds in his career. In fact, he's only done it twice in his career to turn over a 13-point pending loss. Well, basically scoring with 8 seconds left to win by a single point. And the Saints could not score against the 49ers. They barely beat a Rams team that didn't have their quarterback, and they lost to the Steelers. So the problem is the Falcons are terrible. So this will just be a no bet for me. The Falcons are also in line for, like, this is basically them fighting over who's the worst in the division. So the Falcons also lost to the Steelers last week. They lost they lost by 3 points. The Washington Commanders beat them. They're kind of a middling, a wild card level team, and the Falcons beat the Bears, who also have been struggling by 3 points. So if I had to pick, I take the Falcons here with the points, just because I think both these teams are terrible.
They sound terrible. I like the Falcons too. I think that their victory over the Bears, they will be able to carry that momentum.
Yeah.
Against these Saints.
And you think if it's going to be some garbage game, it's like 17-20 at the end of it. I'd rather have the points in hand because they're probably going to keep it close. And there's that. So we got Cowboys Jaguars. Dallas, a quote unquote America's team. No, it's not.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys against one of the other worst teams in the league, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Cowboys are one of the worst teams.
No, they're currently 10-3. It's just I think that they have struggled for how lauded their quarterback Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott, their running back, who's actually pretty good, how lauded their team is. They sure don't show up to big games very well, and they seem to be.
That's what I have found.
They struggle against teams that they shouldn't, and to me, that says like, what's going to happen in this game? Like this is one I kind of want to stay away from, just because the Jags are 5-8. They barely beat the Raiders, so that wins is kind of whatever. They lost to the Broncos recently. They lost to the Chiefs. They lost to the Ravens by 1 point. They lost to the Lions by 26 points, and they beat the Titans. The whole reason this line is only 4 points is because they beat the Titans last week by 14 points, but the Titans don't look very good. So this line, this is a no bet for me, just because I don't know what version of the Cowboys are going to show up and how many points they're going to score. Because last week they had to come back on the Texans. The Texans are probably the actual worst team in the league. They're like 1-11-2 or 1-11-1. They have a tie too, but they were up at halftime. But the Cowboys ended up winning 27-23. They beat the Giants a couple weeks ago, 28-20. They beat the Vikings 40-3. Of
course they did.
And they beat the Colts 54-19 2 weeks ago. So if somehow the Cowboys show up, because they had injuries with their Dak Prescott got injured, Ezekiel Elliott got injured, and I mean everyone's apparently okay now, but it's just I can't always expect a blowout, and I don't know how to bet that because the Jags actually played decent last week. So where are we at in the season? I don't know. It's a no bet for me.
Well, I'm here in New England. We have Cowboy fans, and they are extremely annoying. So I will always bet against the Cowboys, and the Jaguars have a much better mascot. So that
is true. If there's one thing the Jags have, it is a mascot. They also have attached to the venue, Daly's Place, which is where it's AEW's home venue. When COVID, they basically had a residence there where all the shows were filmed there.
Sure.
So they have a homecoming every year now. Chiefs, Texans. Now, Chiefs are going to win this game. The Texans are going to look terrible, we think. But it's a 14-point. So the question is so the Kansas City Chiefs, you may have heard of them. They have Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
Crazy quarterback. He's really good at improvising. There's times like last week where he just flings the ball into a whole bunch of linebackers and gets intercepted because he's trying to make things happen. And he almost lost to the Broncos last week. In fact, he probably would have had Russell Wilson not gotten a massive contusion on his head and is out with a concussion. So the Chiefs have not been winning games by a lot of points. Like if I had to bet this game, the Texans are really, really, really bad. It's just, keep in mind, like a second half, once you're up 14 points, you just probably run the ball in the second half. If I was betting this game, I'd take the Texans. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. It's probably a no bet for me, but at least 14 points, you have a lot of cover there on the spread for the Texans. But I don't expect the Texans team that showed up last week to almost beat the Cowboys and then to blow it all in the second half. You're essentially hoping that they keep it close in the first half and that there isn't enough time where they end up losing by 20 points. So it's a no bet for me, just because really big spread, and I kind of have a rule when the spread's that big, you're not really handicapping the game anymore. You're really just hoping that the second half plays out a particular way. Any other thoughts on that game?
Sounds like a no bet. It sounds like I like your thoughts on a large spread like that, because then it almost seems like it's just we're leaning more into the house winning at that point, and I can just stay out and watch these.
Well, house already made its
watch these crappy teams slap each other.
It's just people on the other side are going to win because it's a 10-point game. Okay, yeah, you about handicap the game right, but it's the difference between 10 and 17 points is like whether or not a team managed to kick a field goal, and now it's a 2-possession game, so they're going to play the game differently in the fourth quarter, knowing it's a 2-possession game instead of a 7 or less point lead. All right, so we got Steelers Panthers. I think this one's also a no bet for me because of the not that you should ever, anyways, of course
not.
But Steelers. Where are the Panthers? Is this cross? This is cross conference. The Panthers badly need a win in order to stay in contention for the NFC South. Who the heck is even their quarterback right now? Philip Walker. Okay. Oh, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's currently their quarterback. They have injuries, so Sam Darnold, who was sort of this star of backup quarterbacks, he showed up and they did well enough to find a win against the Seahawks, and they could find a way to kind of backdoor their way into the playoffs. But they beat the problem is they beat the Seahawks that look wayward. They beat the Broncos a couple weeks back that look wayward, and they lost to the Ravens, which aren't as wayward, and they couldn't score points against the Ravens. which is also telling because Harbaugh has a better defense than those other two teams. Well, the Broncos actually have pretty decent defense too. But it's hard when Russell Wilson can't keep your defense off the field. They get tired. So anywho, and the Steelers have been. This is no bet for me, just because I don't really know what to expect from a lot of a backup squad, and because of how many roster changes have happened with these two teams over the season, I really don't know what I'm going to get here. I mean, am I going to get a close game with the Steelers, keeping it close the whole way like they have the last few weeks, ultimately to win or lose by a close one? And then it's 3 points, and then I don't know which way that's going to go. With both really the Panthers also have something to play for too. So I don't know. I don't like betting this one. What are your thoughts?
Well, is Russell Wilson related to any Beach Boys?
I wish, but Russell Wilson.
I like the Panthers.
Okay. They do have. They also have cool
if they got something to fight for, and of course, better mascot.
That is true. All right, so we get to the 4 o'clock window. And remember, the holidays are upon us, and nothing says aphrodisiac than a solid waxy substance originating from the intestines of a sperm whale. Yes, Ambergris & Co. has your hookup for the most incredible whale and whale-like substances you know will impress your partner. Ambergris & Co. Ahab and Ishmael approved. That's our sponsor for the 4 o'clock window.
Sure, I love ambergris. I use it by the jar
with your lake house soaps.
Oh man, yeah.
I love when you cut the soap.
It's all over the place.
You post on Twitter the soap cutting, and that's like,
you like the cutting.
It's just like when you make something and you just kind of like see, it's like, oh, it's becoming soap. Like,
yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. It's very tactile.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like it's now becoming the object, and I think it's really cool.
Reality.
4 o'clock window. We got Patriots Raiders. Is there more to dig into it? And also, this podcast is now over an hour long, so I'm just gonna make a quick pick here without getting into the.
I'm sorry that I keep talking about other things.
No, it's good. I think everyone that's listened to this podcast should have listened to the first 20 minutes or 20, 30 minutes. Go get some soap, and then don't listen to the rest of the podcast because you don't need to bet on any of this. This is terrible.
Oh well, no. You might need to.
You need the soap to cleanse, to wash yourself and clean yourself after having done this horrific, morally wrong thing of betting on sport outcomes.
We'll also just don't bet on the sport outcomes.
And then you could just clean yourself up anyways, because
because you should do that whether or not you're making immoral decisions.
So Patriots have struggled. They have a big quarterback, not controversy, but just like what was it, Zach Brown or not? I keep thinking of the McLaren.
Did he deflate the balls or something?
No. If they did it, everyone did, and it doesn't even make sense for the the whole thing was just a stupid.
Was that 5 years ago? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's like 10 years ago now. But all the talking heads on our competing networks here, they're still talking about it. They hate the Patriots over it. But I mean,
yeah, is the team marked? Like, are people like, oh, the fucking Patriots? Oh my God, sorry.
The Patriots are, I mean, they're run by Bill Belichick, he will do everything in his power to make sure the game is won. But they got caught filming things. They got caught, but like the problem is, it's like other teams do this. Like the one NFL owner was like, yeah, I hire a private investigator to get dirt on all the other owners. I got dirt on all you. Can't kick me out because I got dirt on everybody else. And Islay was one of the other owners, was like, screw you. You got no dirt on me. Like, all the owners, I think, just bicker. Like, you ever seen that movie Semi-Pro?
Yeah.
And the scene where where Will Ferrell's like, yeah, that, I want that. And they all just start bickering with each other in the room when they're talking about the merger between the ABA and the NBA. And so only take 4 teams. And it's like, no, it can't be like that. And then they all just start yelling at each other. That's how I think the owners actually behave, because I think sometimes in media there is a truth to certain things, and I think they all just bicker with hate each other. So we got Patriots, Raiders, very wayward, very terrible team, and they just like the Texans, they find ways to lose games they should win, and I think Bill Belichick is going to find a way. I mean, the Patriots somehow you're getting a point on the Patriots, and I would think this is Pick'em or the Raiders should be. The Raiders should not be a favorite in this game unless like a quarterback got hurt, and they're not. I mean, Patriots struggle, but I think they're going to find a way to win this game, and I'll take the point. I'll take it. I mean, it doesn't really help you. If they lose by a point, you push. That's all you really get. It's basically pick 'em. If it was 1.5, I guess that's, well, if they lose 17-16, you win. So I take the Patriots there. I don't have too much else on that one because I want to get through these. I still got a couple to go. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I like the Patriots. I don't I'm not too concerned about what everyone thinks about whatever happened and whatever rumors. Sounds like a good pick to me.
All right. What do you think? I got Cardinals Broncos, and it's probably going to be a Russell Wilson-less. He's the guy that's being
Russell
paid.
Wilson is not going to be there.
No, he's got a concussion. His head was hit so bad. I don't expect him to play, and that might be a game time decision thing. Cardinals are pretty wayward. They're pretty terrible. Kyler Murray, I think, is actually out for the season now. So I have no idea who the backup quarterbacks is. This is something I would actually look at come to the game time, whether or not one, because that line is going to move if one of them somehow starts. But considering one has a torn Achilles and the other one has a concussion, and it's only he's going to be in protocol, so I don't think they're going to have him play. I mean, the Cardinals looked pretty bad because they were playing the Patriots, and the Patriots ended up winning the game. So, like, yeah, I mean, their backup tried. It's just that once the Broncos, I think the Broncos defense honestly is pretty good. Who was your pick in this?
Broncos.
Yeah, I would take the Broncos here, -2.5. But it would really be pending. Like, this over/under is actually quite tantalizing at 36. I think we'll get over 36, but that's a bit rough just because it's possible. Arizona, like, the outcome I'm thinking that is probable is the Broncos defense actually a lot better. Like, they would be like a 10+ win team had they not had Russell Wilson and their first year coaching staff, who's now gotten more. They're more than a half year of experience now. They blew a lot of games on the offensive side of the ball, and they ultimately ended up in a situation where, like, they had their offense managed to score 20 points per game, which is reasonable. If they just put up 20 points in a game instead of 10 to 15 every game, they would have won like 6 more games in the season. So their defense is actually putting up pretty good numbers. It's just after the course of 4 quarters of a game, if Russell Wilson throws a 3 and out and the defense is back on the field after 30 seconds, it's like, well, that they get tired and the pass rush gets weaker, and the corners get more tired. They can't necessarily keep up with the receivers as well. But just considering, I think the Cardinals are going to struggle without their main quarterback. I kind of like the Broncos there at -2.5, but it could just be a no bet based on who actually starts and what the situation is. All right, got 4 left. Bengals Buccaneers. Well, it's Brady, and they're playing against the guy that just took down Deshaun Watson, who's not named Baker Mayfield. Who the heck's the quarterback now for the Bengals? That's the Ravens. Who do you like in this one? Brady's Bucks are favored by. They have they're 3.5 point underdogs, so they get +3.5.
What's their records right now?
I mean, the Bucks are currently leading their division at 6-7. Bengals are second place in the division. Well, they're tied with the Ravens at 9-4. There's tiebreakers involved.
I still feel like
Bengals have won 5 in a row.
I still feel like Bucks. That could be a bad pick, but I feel like
Joe Burrow's their quarterback too. I like the Bengals here just because of what I've seen from Brady and how much they struggled against what ultimately is going to be a playoff team. The Bengals,
I feel like he pulls it together sometimes.
Sorry?
I feel like Tom Brady pulls it together sometimes.
Well, the problem is I think he's doing fine.
Occasion.
I think he's just trying to do as much as he possibly can with literally nothing else. He doesn't have any time to throw the ball.
Which is what he's got right now.
There's key people missing on their defense now, so their defense can't help him out by making points as they were earlier in the season. I think it's going to be a struggle. For the key thing here is that it's 3.5 and not 3. I'd feel better if it was 3, but I think I'm on the Bengals here. If it were -3, maybe 3.5's a no bet. Like, the line I think is probably about what it should be, but it's just knowing how I'm potentially going to lose to Brady. Is he's going to make a comeback at the end, and every point I can get, like, they might lose by 4 points, and they're going to lose, but 4 points is not, or sorry, 3 points is not enough. 4 points would be enough. So, all right, so that's that. Titans, Chargers. Titans laid an egg last week. Chargers are also pretty bad. This one might just be a no bet. Chargers, I think,
how
have
many
to win this
teams? How
game.
many? Do you know how many eggs were laid last week?
Well, Titans laid a lot of eggs because a lot of people were thinking that they were gonna go places. When the Chargers lost to the Raiders 2 weeks ago, they barely beat the Dolphins. The Chargers have Justin Herbert at quarterback, who basically can just pull a rabbit out of his hat and find points where, like, he'll swing the ball and he has a generally better than average chance of completing some miracle plays. But the problem is you can't do that all game because the defense is just going to rip that up. And we're in a modern NFL where, well, this is why Russell Wilson got hired for $250 million. But like his key thing was slinging the ball 60 yards down the field and hoping someone would catch it by getting into space. That's a thing you do at university football. That's not a thing that happens in the NFL anymore because of the change to in the past 10 years is how good defenses have gotten with cover 2, shell coverage, Tampa 2. Well, cover 2 they don't really use anymore. They use something called Tampa 2. So they basically have effectively there's always at least 3 guys sitting 10 plus yards down the field covering anything. You have all the corners in man coverage, and essentially you're always kind of looking for pockets between 5 to 10 yards up the field. Occasionally you'll get if you can find a way to get man coverage, so like one of those people in the back don't catch somebody that's just running on what's called a go route. You just the Hail Mary route, you just go all the way down the field. If you can get a man coverage against the corner or something, that's when they'll sling the ball there. But the problem is you just don't, those end up being in double coverage. Throwing in double coverage is just how interceptions happen and just disaster. And that's why Russell Wilson's largely been a failure, is because he's not, it's very difficult in the modern NFL. If you say even to Brady, okay, you can score a touchdown, sure. We're going to make it so you have to run 20 plays to score a touchdown. Okay, think about it. You only get 3 plays before you have to get 10 yards in 3 plays, or you're punting or kicking a field goal. So if you lengthen drives, false starts, holding penalties, you name it, anything that knocks you back, all of a sudden it becomes a lot harder. So that's where Brady will grind stuff like that out. It's just that even he struggles to score touchdowns in the modern NFL. So unless defenses make big mistakes, or you just find something really good tactically that works against what's happening on the field that day, it's very difficult. So anywho, I like Joe Burrow because I just don't think the Bucs have enough tools in the toolbox to deal with this. But that 3 points. So yes, we had that. We're on Chargers and Titans actually, and so this one, the Titans have just been a disaster. You're fine. Who is even quarterback? They got Derrick Henry and Tannehill. That's right.
I thought I was going to sneeze, but it went away.
You didn't sneeze.
Oh, now I'm all more congested. It moved back into my sinus.
This one's kind of a no bet to me. Both these teams are terrible. I don't know what's going to show up in this game because they both kind of have loosely playoff implications here. Like the Titans need to protect that division lead. That I don't know if the Colts or the Jags can get them, but I don't know what's going to happen in the game. If I had to choose, maybe the Chargers at -3, but I don't really know because both those teams are just kind of middling. And like if one play, on the day, one might score 10 more points than the other, and that's just it. I don't.
The Chargers have a magician that pulls rabbits out of hats.
That's what Justin Herbert does. Yeah.
Well,
he has some good guys around him. So you like Chargers?
Good. Yeah, I like the Chargers. I like Justin Herbert.
Maybe that's a good money line.
And Tom Brady doesn't have guys around him. Is that the problem?
Yeah, they're all hurt. Cooper Kupp.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
Receiver core.
This is going to come down to which teams
I described some of the defensive stuff. Normally, like remember Gronk? Do you know Gronk Gronkowski?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
Rob Gronkowski. So he is a fantastic tight end. He's a massive dude, and he requires attention by the defense. So what happens when those 3 guys, the Mike, the middle linebacker, and the 2 safeties, you have to pull somebody up to deal with him. Well, that eventually one of the things in the modern NFL is you use a tight end or two to make gaps happen or to cause mismatches. The mismatches is Gronk's like 300 pounds, and the guy that's upfield who's a safety or whatever needs to be able to tackle people. And he also needs to be able to run all over the field, so he can't weigh 300 pounds. So when Gronk, it's like rugby. Like you have that big hulking dude you hand the ball to, and he just smashes through stuff.
Yeah.
That the tight end is a really, really important part. So what a lot of these teams and why I make some of these calls is just like I know whose tight ends are actually decent, and who actually Like you can't just always throw a check down 5-yard pass to a random receiver because eventually those receivers are going to be covered a little bit differently and they're going to kind of change the coverage package. The tight end can really explode a lot of those things, and that's why when you saw the Pats do, like, they broke the system. They broke the defensive systems because they couldn't handle, because what comes through college are like, so for instance, why are certain teams' offensive lines absolutely terrible? Well, because right now coming through university is nothing but offensive linemen who can pass block, but they can't run block. So who fills that gap? Gronkowski. He can help run block because he's 300 pounds. He knows how to block well, and he's also a passing threat, which means that the defense can't. You can't, be like a penalty kicker in the World Cup. You can't be one step to the right thinking that they're going to run or pass based on what they're showing, because he could do both. Well, the offensive lines, it's very difficult in the current NFL for a lot of teams to. This is where the Bucs really struggle. If they're not, they are very close to. They're probably worse than the league in rushing yards because their run blocking is really, really bad, and they don't have a really good running back. So what does that turn to? It turns to the defense knowing they're passing the ball, and if they run it, they might get another yard or two, but they're certainly not going to run all the way down the field. And if we need to change what we're doing, we can. But until they make us care, we're just going to run defensive packages that make it so that the GOAT has to work that. And he doesn't have receivers, so he's not gonna have as much time because a lot of these teams have pretty decent pass rush, and so they're going to get to the quarterback before he has time to find an open guy. And that's loosely what's happening with the Bucs situation, and why I think and why I'd rather just put 2 units on the Bengals to beat the Bucs at 3.5 than I would want to touch the Chargers Titans, because that whole game I just described to you, I don't know which team is going to win that game because I haven't watched enough film room of either of them. So that's what I got on that game. Giants Commanders is the Sunday night game.
Wish I could root for the Giants. Not a good idea, huh?
You could. I mean,
I could do it.
We have racist and bigoted owner versus.
Oh, really?
The Washington guy. Well, remember their team had a really not nice. But this is the one that was using. Yeah, they used to be formerly the Washington Redskins. Now they're the Washington Commanders.
I didn't even know that.
They finally got the owner to change the stupid.
I didn't even. Okay, all right, okay,
But the problem is, like behind the scenes. That's a good enough reason just to take the Giants.
That's a good enough reason. There you go.
They're also a 4.5 point underdog, that's not like, both these teams are 7-5-1. They're both, the Giants started out the season with everyone talking that they're they're like 7-0 or something at some point, and now they've really fallen from grace. And so I mean, this one I really don't know what's going to happen. I haven't watched them in the past couple weeks, so I think I'm just going to be a no bet on that. But if I had to take a choice, I kind of like that 4.5. I mean, why are the Giants are they really this bad now? It's a rematch. Wait a second. They played 2 weeks ago to a tie, and you're telling me that I'm going to get 4.5 points on the Giants? I'm taking the Giants.
Yeah,
I'm taking the Giants.
Yep.
Unless there's an injury or something, And the Monday night game is Rams Packers. Aaron Rodgers has looked terrible. He's also throwing to receivers that don't know what routes they're running. Now the problem is the Rams have they have Baker Mayfield throwing at quarterback, and they're a 7-point. I actually like the Rams here. I don't think the Packers have enough to deal with this, and I think it's as simply as that. I mean, Baker Mayfield pulled the rabbit out of his hat, threw some great passes. He looked good. He doesn't look as good as Purdy for the Niners, but when it came, he found a way to win a game in a very Brady-like fashion. In the waning seconds of a game, to just drop a dime 40 yards down the field on what they found a way to. I don't know why you get man coverage with 10 seconds to go in the game and you have to score a touchdown, but he threw a dime down the field and perfect pass right in the corner, and the guy caught it running, one of those, he's just diving into the end zone, and he beat the corner. I'm like, okay. So with that, I like the Rams here because I'm getting 7 points, and Aaron Rodgers has just looked very, very average this year, and he's also missing people. He's got a broken hand. He's not playing particularly great. They nearly lost to the Lions a few weeks ago. I mean, their season's become completely unglued, and so I take the Rams.
Rams have a better mascot for sure.
That is true.
Yep.
Packers, we were canning meats. All right, so we got two more quick bets because we got to talk.
Oh,
Let
the
me find.
football.
Yeah, we got more football. We got World Cup third place and final. This is brought to you by Lucky Spare. It's your partner for the holiday season. Sit back with a glass from your soda jerk and hand out a handful of these beautiful hand-dipped and wrapped cigars and cigarettes. The premier torcedor for your expensive guests. Each hand-dipped cigar has a flavor intended to keep your friends addicted to our products. Peppermint, corn syrup, sugar, tar, and our personal favorite, bubble mint honey maple. Stop by our store off of I-69, exit 69B to experience a new peak of flavor.
The bubble mint is good, but I really like the tar.
You like
That's
the
like that
tar?
real old style
It's very
dank
old
smoke.
style,
Yeah,
yes.
really.
They
It's a
are they
classic.
are they are my favorite candy torcedor.
Mm.
So we got a third place match Croatia Mexico on Saturday, and we have Argentina France in the final. So Croatia Mexico, I would not be surprised. Like my bet, there's different bets for soccer. It's just for what the 90-minute result is. I'd take a draw
Okay.
here between Croatia and Mexico. I think it's going to be a 90-minute draw, and I think Croatia will win on penalties, or win in extra time.
Okay. I absolutely do not know anything about non-American football.
Well,
Like,
Croatia has like checkered uniforms, and Morocco
okay.
has their flag. It's like what Casablanca is. They have a red flag with a green star in the middle.
Okay. I like Morocco.
Yeah, I like their striker. They've basically been playing counterattack the whole World Cup. Croatia has a really good defensive front. I just think their defense is a little bit better. But ultimately, I think both are going to struggle to score goals from what I've seen. And they both got absolutely destroyed by who's in the final? Argentina and France. Argentina with Lionel Messi, who looks destined to win a World Cup, and you got France, who what I watched in the game yesterday against Morocco. They actually let a lot of they were really good chances on goal, but I think a better team like Argentina is going to find ways to exploit this. But in soccer, you basically have high, mid, and low blocks. So the defenders, the midfielders, and the forwards loosely play these positions. And essentially, you have that back line where they pump crosses into. Well, what happened in the second half when France was winning? They basically dropped their midfielders back more closely to basically make two very close lines of defense. So they basically let Morocco create and do whatever they want in front of them, and basically always tried to make sure there were bodies blocking all of the possible connecting passes. So like essentially, like I'm going to throw balls into the bumpers in a pinball machine. If half the bumpers are 2/3 of the bumpers are mine instead of half, I have an edge
Okay.
to prevent you
Yeah.
from. Yeah, I'm going to stick a leg out and make sure any shot you get off is blocked. So I'm always going to have two guys in front of your guy with the ball, and I'm going to try to make sure every passing route that's good, anything that's forward is blocked. So, but that was France's adjustment, was to give up space and essentially creative, strong, really good creative Tricastaria type. They can just create whatever they need to score goals, and they will figure out a way to do that, as opposed to more boring things like you go play intramural or pickup game. You have that guy that always hits cherry picker. He's always trying to poach for a
Sure.
goal in front of everything
Yeah,
and
yeah,
try to
yeah.
stay on side. But you just pump it to him and he'll try to get a 1-on-1 because everyone commits way too much and no one's paying attention. But anywho, Messi is really really good at making everybody else he has on his there's a front line there that's really really good. And I think if France gets into a position where they score early and basically make this adjustment where they bring everybody back and allow too much creativity, they're going to find ways. They're going to find ways to capitalize. The only way I see France winning in normal time here is if they score like in the 70, 80th minute and they're able to park the bus long enough to hold the win on that. Otherwise, I think 90 minutes Argentina is either going to win it outright or it's going to be a draw. We go to extra time, and then I don't know what the hell happens. I don't know, but if I have to give a nod, it's going to be to Argentina. But there's stars on France too. They have star forwards too. It's just Argentina's defense has not had to make these adjustments to kind of. I'm interested in what adjustment happens. So maybe it's a live betting thing. You look at it in the second half and go, okay, this is the adjustment they're making, and I know that having seen what they did, having seen them do it in the prior games against weaker competition, it was pretty sketchy. Now I know where this match is going to go. So I might even say go, take Argentina to qualify, and then or take like a Messi or an Mbappe to score, and then see what the second half, where we're at in the second half, and then there's more vig if you bet on a live game. But but you might have more insight as to what's happening in the game. And there's probably so much action on this game of people that don't know what they're doing and just throwing money blindly on stuff. It probably beats, as long as you go in there with more intelligence, you might actually get a little bit of an edge there. But that's what I got for the World Cup. I'm going to go with Argentina to advance and win the cup, but it might be on penalties.
I like Argentina. I like France too, but I'm not that fond of pastries and cigarettes, so I agree with you about Argentina.
You're just twirling your mustache,
Yeah,
smoking on one of those really, really long
France.
cigars
I do have,
in the old movies.
Ancestors from France, but
all right.
It sounds like Argentina is likely to do a good job. And
well, wonderful. This episode went way longer than it was supposed to, but I hope you all enjoyed it. It was basically two parts. We had an interview with wonderful Koya.tv.
Thank you so much.
And check all that out. Make sure to check out Lake House Soaps.
Thank you so much.
That was really cool what we did with the password
Thank you so much.
And they gave them out as prizes. I made sure to let everybody know about it.
That was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome.
Boozy,
thank you,
Boozy took your card. I hope Boozy ordered some soap off of you. He said, we used to make soap. Give me his card.
Yeah. Awesome. That's so great. Thank you so much.
I'm Iggy Dota, Iggy everywhere, but that Twitch maybe have to put more letters on it. So it's twitch.tv/Iggy Dota, or check me out on Twitter, twitter.com/Iggy Dinosaur, and there's a link tree on there with all my fun stuff. Anything else you want to add, Koya?
No, thank you so much. It's great being here, and anytime, Iggy.
Yeah, that was fun. That was episode awesome. 2 of Iggy Talks Too Much with very, very special guest Koya DK. And
in the future, if I am streaming or if we're doing this, or if you ask me to do this again, it's okay if I am. I didn't know if I should get off stream, and I always never have this conversation with.
I don't care. It's just I'm going to take a cut of this and put it onto the podcast thing.
Great. I love that you will. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, I'll stop the recording here. But bye,
awesome.
Podcast people.
Okay. Bye.
But yeah, so I will post it onto, I export all my Twitch stuff, and these I'm also keeping a local recording. And that's also being posted on my site.
Cool. Awesome.
Iggyland.org. There you go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's great. I encourage you and everyone I know to be doing stuff like this. So anytime if you want to do, really, as long as I'm awake, I'll respond. Well, I mean, I'm off for the rest of the year, but I mean, really, I'm trying to make time for this kind of stuff. And
I'm going to say, I'm going to say bye to the stream. Thanks again, Koya. I'm going to stop the stream for a moment here. And thanks everyone that popped in. I think Huldu was here. But take it easy, everybody. And this will be posted probably today. See ya.